Imagine walking into a dusty barn and seeing the iconic shaker hood of a 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda completely buried under decades of tarps. That is exactly what happened last month to our local classic muscle car museum, a place currently facing total foreclosure. We literally have just 30 days to rebuild this legendary 426 Hemi, auction it off, and save the museum from turning into a concrete parking lot. But the engine hasn't turned over since 1982, and what we found inside almost made us quit on day one. You know that absolutely sick feeling when you snap a head bolt deep in the block? Now imagine doing that on an original 426 block, an engine where only 652 Hemi Cuda hardtops were built in 1970. We managed to extract it using a specialized left-hand drill bit, carefully saving a piece of cast iron worth upwards of 20 grand on the restoration market. But getting the block stripped bare was just the start of our problems, because the real nightmare was waiting for us down in the oil pan. I am going to walk you through the exact 5 phases we used to bring this legendary elephant engine back from the dead. You will see how we dealt with seized pistons, sourced impossible new old stock parts, and managed the brutal E-body rust that plagues these cars. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it takes to restore a $1 million Mopar and save a massive piece of automotive history. Ready to see the absolute worst thing you can possibly find inside a classic car's oil pan? Step 1. What was hiding in the oil pan? We dropped the oil pan and an actual rat skeleton fell out right onto the concrete shop floor. Old Mopars left sitting in fields are notorious rodent motels, and this 70 Cuda was absolutely no exception. The 426 Hemi engine, weighing in at a massive 800 pounds fully dressed, was completely seized from years of condensation. We flooded the cylinders with a 50-50 mix of automatic transmission fluid and acetone, the ultimate old-school mechanic's secret, and let it sit for a week. The crank finally moved, but the sound it made sent shivers straight down our spines. It sounded exactly like grinding broken glass. The original forged steel crankshaft, which features an aggressive 3.75-inch stroke, had heavy rust scaling on the main journals. If we spun a bearing right now, we would destroy a priceless numbers-matching engine forever. We carefully hoisted the block, sent it to a specialty Mopar machinist, and had the crank micro-polished to absolute perfection, keeping all the original factory tolerances. But an engine is absolutely nothing without air and fuel, and our original carburetors were completely missing from the intake. Step 2. Where did the Carters go? Staring at an empty dual-quad intake manifold is like looking at a masterpiece with a giant hole punched straight through it. The 1970 Hemi Cuda originally breathed through 2 Carter AFB carburetors, specifically tuned to feed 425 conservative factory horsepower. Finding an original, date-coded set of Carters today is practically like hunting for unicorn teeth in the dark. We tracked down a retired Chrysler engineer in Detroit who had a mid-set sitting on his shelf since 1975, and bought them for a fraction of their $10,000 market value. But mounting them revealed a massive vacuum leak we couldn't trace. You ever spray carb cleaner around an intake manifold and listen closely for the idle to jump? We did. And the engine was sucking air straight from a microscopic hairline crack in the aluminum. Aluminum from 1970 is highly notorious for becoming extremely brittle, especially after decades of brutal heat cycling on the street. We brought in a TIG welding wizard who actually preheated the manifold in a barbecue grill to prevent warping, then laid a perfect bead down the crack. The intake was permanently sealed, but we were about to hit a massive brick wall with the car's body. Step 3. Why does Mopar metal always disappear? You can practically hear a 1970 E-body rusting away on a quiet summer night. Plymouth Cudas are legendary for completely rotting out around the cowl and the rear quarter panels, due to incredibly poor factory drainage designs. This museum car literally had holes in the floorboards big enough to put your steel-toe boots through. We ordered heavy reproduction 18-gauge steel floor pans, carefully drilled out the factory spot welds, and stitch welded the new metal in perfectly, restoring the car's structural rigidity. But as we ground down the final welds, we noticed something deeply wrong with the subframe connectors. The entire subframe was visibly twisted a full inch out of square. Back in the day, these massive engines produced an estimated 490 foot-pounds of torque, and aggressive dragstrip launches could literally twist the chassis if it wasn't heavily reinforced. This specific car had clearly been raced incredibly hard before it was parked in that barn. We strapped the Cuda to a laser-aligned frame machine and slowly, painstakingly pulled the chassis back to perfect factory spec over 2 grueling days. Now the body was perfectly straight, but mating the 426 to its transmission was about to test our total sanity. Step 4. Can the pistol grip survive the drop? Trying to line up an input shaft while dangling an 800-pound engine in the air is pure mechanical torture. We were mating the massive Hemi to the legendary A833 4-speed manual transmission. Only 284 Hemi Cudas were ever built with the 4-speed manual in 1970, making this an ultra-rare and highly desirable combination. After 3 exhausting hours of rocking the massive block and adjusting the load leveler, the splines finally aligned, and the bell housing slid home with a deeply satisfying clunk. We bolted in the iconic Hurst pistol grip shifter, but the clutch pedal went straight to the floor with absolutely zero resistance. Panic instantly set in because we had less than 48 hours left until the massive museum auction. The mechanical clutch linkage on these classic Mopars involves a complex Z-bar that pivots directly between the frame and the engine block. A single missing nylon bushing means the mechanical geometry is completely destroyed and you can't shift. We frantically raided a local parts bin, found a highly compatible bushing from an old Dodge truck, modified it on a lathe, and suddenly we had a rock-solid clutch pedal. The drivetrain was fully complete, but turning the key for the very first time is always a massive roll of the dice. Step 5. Will the elephant roar or blow? The thick smell of raw premium fuel and old oil fills the air right before a crucial first start. When priming a newly rebuilt 426 Hemi, you absolutely have to run the oil pump with a heavy-duty drill to ensure vital oil pressure reaches the top end. The valve train on these specific engines is highly complex, utilizing huge, incredibly heavy rocker arms that need constant lubrication. We watched the mechanical oil pressure gauge hit a healthy 60 psi, hooked up the ignition, and with a twist of the key, the engine fired instantly, settling into a massive, thumping idle. But within 30 seconds, a massive plume of thick white smoke started billowing from the passenger side exhaust. My heart instantly sank right into my stomach, thinking we had a blown head gasket right out of the gate. White smoke usually means engine coolant is actively breaching the combustion chamber and burning off. In a Hemi, retorquing the cylinder heads requires completely removing the entire intake and valve train, a massive, day-long setback we couldn't afford. Then I realized it wasn't sweet-smelling coolant. It was merely just heavy condensation and old sticky assembly lube burning off inside the original cast iron exhaust manifolds. The thick smoke completely cleared, the massive engine roared beautifully, but the real ultimate test was whether the auction crowd would actually show up with their checkbooks. Seeing a beautifully restored, pitch-black Hemi Cuda roll under the bright lights of an auction block gives you absolute chills. The classic car market has seen pristine 1970 Hemi Cudas regularly cross the $1 million mark, highly depending on original provenance and matching numbers components. The entire museum's financial survival hinged completely on this single, tense hammer price. The intense bidding started at a massive $500,000, quickly escalated between 2 wealthy collectors, and finally hammered down at an incredible $1.2 million, completely wiping out the museum's outstanding debt. We saved the history, but wait until you hear what specific car the museum director just found sitting in a swamp out back. That's right, the true story doesn't just end with the Cuda, and it honestly never does for us hardcore gearheads. Preserving classic American muscle is all about keeping the raw, analog soul entirely alive in a rapidly growing digital world. Every single busted knuckle, late night, and empty wallet is a beautiful tribute to the absolute golden era of Detroit horsepower. You now know the exact journey, the deep pain, and the mechanical secrets of resurrecting a 426 Hemi from a rusty, forgotten tomb. Keep wrenching in your garage, keep hunting down those leads, and always rigorously check those collapsing old barns. Make sure you stick around, because next time, we're pulling a real 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona straight out of the mud.